The snowman that appeared after midnight. I've never been one to believe in ghosts or the supernatural. My life has always been grounded in the tangible. The creak of floorboards in an old house, the bite of winter wind against my skin, the isolation of living on the edge of a forgotten town. But what happened last winter changed everything. This isn't some campfire tale or urban legend. It's what I lived through. And it started with a snowman that shouldn't have been there. I'm telling you this as a warning. Sometimes, the monsters aren't hiding in the shadows. They're building things in your yard while you sleep. My name is Emily Hargrove, and I'm 32 years old. I moved to Eldridge Hollow 3 years ago after my divorce. The town is a speck on the map in upstate New York, population barely scraping 500. It's the kind of place where everyone knows your business, but no one really cares enough to interfere. I bought a small Victorian house on the outskirts, surrounded by dense woods that stretch for miles. The property is private, fenced on 3 sides, with a long driveway that winds through evergreens. Trespassers aren't common. The nearest neighbor is a mile away, and the road dead ends at my gate. I liked the solitude. It gave me space to heal, to paint in my attic studio without distractions. That winter was brutal. Snow started falling in late November and didn't let up. By mid-December, drifts piled up to my windowsills, and the plows struggled to keep the roads clear. I worked from home as a freelance illustrator, so I didn't mind the isolation much. My ex-husband, Mark, used to call me a hermit. Maybe he was right, but after what he did, cheating with my best friend, I preferred my own company. It was December 23rd, the night before Christmas Eve. I'd spent the evening wrapping a few gifts for my sister's kids, sipping hot cocoa laced with whiskey to ward off the chill. The house was quiet, except for the occasional groan of settling beams and the wind howling outside. I went to bed around 11:30 p.m., double-checking the locks as always. Living alone makes you paranoid, especially in a creaky old place like mine. I woke up abruptly at 2:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because I glanced at my phone on the nightstand. Something had pulled me from sleep. A sound, maybe? It wasn't the wind. That was constant. No, it was a faint crunching, like footsteps in the snow. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened. Silence. Probably just a deer or a branch snapping under the weight of ice. I lay back down, but sleep wouldn't come. Insomnia had been my companion since the divorce. Restless, I got up and padded to the kitchen for water. The window over the sink overlooked the backyard, a wide expanse of lawn bordered by the woods. Moonlight filtered through the clouds, casting a silvery glow on the fresh snow. That's when I saw it. A snowman. It stood in the center of the yard, about 20 feet from the back porch. 3 spheres stacked unevenly, a large base, a lopsided middle, and a small head. No arms, no face, just a blank, featureless sentinel. I blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But no, it was real, solid. The snow around it was disturbed, footprints leading from the woods to the figure and back again. My stomach dropped. I hadn't built it. No one had visited me in days. The yard had been pristine when I'd looked out earlier that evening. No tracks, no disturbances. Someone had trespassed onto my property after midnight and built this thing. Why? A prank? Kids from town? But Eldridge Hollow wasn't known for that sort of thing, and the woods were too dense for casual wanderers. I grabbed my robe and slippers, debating whether to call the sheriff. It was just a snowman, right? Harmless. But the footprints unnerved me. They were large, boot-sized, and deliberate. I flicked on the porch light and stepped outside. The cold hit me like a slap, wind whipping snowflakes into my face. I approached cautiously, my breath fogging the air. Up close, the snowman was crudely made. Lumps of snow packed hastily, as if the builder was in a rush. No carrot nose, no coal eyes. But there was something embedded in the middle section, a glint of metal. I reached out and brushed away the snow. It was a keychain, my keychain. The one with the little paintbrush charm that I'd lost months ago. I'd searched everywhere for it. My car, the house, even the driveway. How had it ended up here? Panic surged through me. This wasn't random. Someone had been watching me, close enough to find my lost item and incorporate it into this bizarre sculpture. I yanked the keychain free and bolted back inside, locking the door behind me. My hands shook as I dialed the sheriff's office. A sleepy deputy answered, promising to swing by in the morning. "Probably just kids, ma'am," he said. "Holidays bring out the mischief." I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in the living room with a baseball bat, staring out the window. The snowman remained, unmoving, a silent accusation. Morning came gray and overcast. Deputy Harlan arrived around 9 a.m., crunching up the driveway in his patrol car. He was a burly man in his 50s, with a mustache that hid his perpetual frown. I led him to the backyard, but the footprints were gone, covered by a fresh layer of snow that had fallen before dawn. The snowman still stood, though. Harlan inspected it, poking at the keychain hole. Odd, I'll grant you that. But no signs of forced entry or vandalism. Could be a neighbor's idea of a joke. "My nearest neighbor is old Mrs. Whitaker, and she's bedridden," I protested. "And this keychain, it's mine. Lost it back in September." He nodded thoughtfully. "I'll ask around town. In the meantime, get some motion lights installed and keep your doors locked." He left, and I felt dismissed. But the unease lingered. That afternoon, I drove into town for supplies, salt for the driveway, extra batteries, and a trail camera from the hardware store. Eldridge Hollow's main street was decked in holiday lights, but the cheer felt mocking. At the diner, I overheard locals gossiping about a string of petty thefts, missing tools, garden ornaments. Nothing major, but enough to make me wonder. Back home, I set up the camera on the porch, aimed at the yard. If whoever built the snowman returned, I'd have proof. I melted the thing down with a shovel and hot water, watching the snow slump into a puddle. The keychain went into a drawer, a reminder not to let my guard down. Christmas Eve passed uneventfully. I video called my sister, feigning holiday spirit. But that night, sleep evaded me again. At 1:45 a.m., the motion light flicked on. I rushed to the window. Nothing, just swirling snow. I checked the camera feed on my phone. Empty yard. False alarm triggered by wind or an animal. Or so I thought. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke to a winter wonderland. More snow had fallen, blanketing everything in white. I made coffee and glanced out the kitchen window. My heart stopped. Another snowman. This one was closer to the house, maybe 10 feet from the porch. Taller than the first, with makeshift arms from twisted branches. Still no face, but something was perched on its head. A woolen hat. My woolen hat, the red one with the pom-pom that I'd worn last winter. I'd packed it away in the attic, hadn't looked for it in months. Trespassing wasn't just happening outside. Someone had been inside my house. I called the sheriff again. This time, Sheriff Langford himself came out. He was younger than Harlan, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense. We searched the house together. No signs of break-in. Doors and windows secure, no footprints inside. But the hat was undeniably mine. "This is escalating," Langford admitted. "I'll post a deputy to patrol the area tonight. In the meantime, do you have anywhere else to stay?" I shook my head. "Family's too far. I'll be fine." But I wasn't. That afternoon, I reviewed the trail camera footage. At 12:47 a.m., the motion detector activated. The video showed a figure emerging from the woods, tall, cloaked in a dark coat, face obscured by a hood. They moved with purpose, scooping snow, building quickly. In under 10 minutes, the snowman took shape. Then, they placed the hat on top and retreated into the trees. No clear view of the face, but the gait was familiar, eerily so. I played it back, frame by frame. The coat, bulky, black, like the one Mark used to wear, my ex-husband. But Mark lived in the city now, hours away, and he'd moved on, or so he said. Why would he do this? Paranoia set in. I barricaded the doors with furniture, kept lights on all night. The deputy's car drove by every hour, headlights sweeping the yard. No new snowman appeared that night. Boxing Day brought a thaw. Temperatures rose just enough to turn the snow slushy. I destroyed the second snowman, stomping it into mush. The hat was sodden, but intact. I burned it in the fireplace, watching flames consume the yarn. That evening, I decided to investigate the woods. Bundled in layers, flashlight in hand, I followed the faint path where the figure had vanished. The trees were thick, branches clawing at my coat. After 20 minutes, I found a small clearing. In the center, remnants of a campfire, charred wood still warm. Nearby, a tarp shelter, makeshift but recent. Empty food wrappers, my brand of granola bars, and a notebook, half buried in snow. I flipped it open. Pages filled with sketches of my house, my car, me through windows. Dates scrawled, Deck 20, lights off at 11 p.m. Deck 22, alone again. My skin crawled. This wasn't Mark. The handwriting was blocky, unfamiliar. A twig snapped behind me. I whirled, flashlight beam catching a glimpse of movement, someone darting between trees. I ran, heart thundering, back to the house. Locked myself in, called Langford. He organized a search party, but the woods yielded nothing. The shelter was gone by the time they arrived, as if it had never been. The next few days blurred into a haze of fear. I installed more cameras, motion sensors everywhere. Sleep came in fits, haunted by dreams of faceless figures building effigies in the snow. On December 28th, a package arrived on my porch. No postage, just my name scrawled in that same blocky script. Inside, a photograph of me sleeping, taken through my bedroom window. On the back, "Merry Christmas, see you soon." Langford took it as evidence. "Stalker," he said. "We'll catch him." But doubts gnawed at me. The footprints matched Mark's shoe size. The coat resembled his. And the granola bars. He'd always teased me about my healthy snacks. Was this his revenge for the divorce? I'd taken the house in the settlement. He'd resented it. I called Mark. His voice was surprised, edged with annoyance. "Emily, what do you want?" "Have you been up here, in Eldridge?" He laughed. "Why would I? I'm in the city with Sarah. Busy life, you know?" Sarah, my former best friend. I hung up, unconvinced. That night, the third snowman appeared, right against the back door. This one had a face, stones for eyes, a twig mouth curved in a grin, arms outstretched, as if reaching for the knob. Embedded in its chest, my wedding ring, the one I'd thrown into the woods in a fit of rage after discovering the affair. How? I'd hurled it far, never found it. Someone had searched patiently to retrieve it. The camera caught nothing. Blackout at exactly midnight, as if the power was cut. But the house lights stayed on. Selective tampering. Langford stationed Deputy Harlan outside that night. I paced, unable to rest. At 3 a.m., a scream pierced the silence. Not mine. I rushed to the window. Harlan's car was there, but he wasn't. Footprints led to the woods. They found him the next morning, frozen in the clearing. Hypothermia, they said. But his eyes were wide, terrified, and in his stiff hand, a note. She's mine now. The town buzzed with rumors. A killer in the woods, a vengeful spirit. I knew better. This was human calculated terror. I decided to leave. Packed a bag, planned to drive to my sister's. But as I loaded the car, snow began falling heavily. Blizzard warnings blared on the radio. Roads closed. Trapped. That night, December 30th, the power went out for real. Generator failed. I huddled by the fireplace, bat in hand. Wind howled, but beneath it, crunching footsteps. Circling the house, a fist slammed the attic door. I backed away, gripping the bat. "Emily," he whispered, "don't make this harder." The hinges groaned. A crack split the wood. Then, a siren. Close. Mark froze. "No!" he screamed, then bolted down the stairs. I heard the back door slam and boots crunch through snow. I stayed still, shaking, until the officers burst in. When they led me outside, the storm had eased. The snowman still stood on the porch, knife-carved grin staring at the house. And at its base, half buried in snow, was a fresh footprint, pointing toward the woods. He burst in, face gaunt, eyes wild, beard unkempt, clothes ragged. "Miss me?" I swung the bat, connecting with his shoulder. He grunted, lunged. We grappled, tumbling across the floor, his hands around my throat, squeezing. "You're mine," he hissed. Black spots danced in my vision. With a surge of adrenaline, I kneed him, broke free, grabbed a canvas stretcher, smashed it over his head. He staggered, fell against the window, glass shattered. He toppled out, 2 stories down, into the snow. I collapsed, sobbing, called 911 when signal returned. They found him broken but alive, babbling about snowmen and eternal winter. Mark confessed everything. The stalking, the trespassing, Harlan's murder, lured him into the woods, left him to freeze. He'd been camping out there for months, driven mad by loss. They took him away. I sold the house, moved far away. But sometimes, on winter nights, I wake to crunching snow, look out the window, and wonder if he's really gone, or if another snowman waits after midnight.